Hi, and welcome to Handbag Designer 101, the podcast with your host, Emily Blumenthal, handbag industry expert and the handbag fairy godmother. Each week, we uncover the stories behind the handbags we love, from the iconic brands and top designers to the creativity, craftsmanship, and culture that define the handbag world. Whether you're a designer, collector, or simply passionate about handbags, this is your front row seat to it all. Welcome, Tanner Leatherstein, to the Handbag Designer 101 podcast. So happy to have you.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for the invitation and taking the time. I am happy to be here.
Good, you should be. Listen, your rise to fame is pretty wild. So why don't you give a quick overview of who you are and what you do, and then we'll get to the roots and the weeds as to how you got to where you are.
Absolutely. Tanner Leatherstein is my personal brand. It's not my actual name. That's usually the first question to clear. That would be too good to be true, doing what I do and having that name and last name. So my real name is Volkan, and I was born in Turkey, and I think it was about 2009 I moved to the United States out of just a random green card lottery.
For business school, right?
No, it was a green card lottery that I didn't even apply. Someone did for me. And
Ooh,
it was
who applied for you?
So that was a company I applied about 3-4 years prior to that. And they said I checked the box for them to make it 5 years in repetition. I forgot.
Oh, so you continue to apply every single year?
Yes. And then first year I was waiting, and then it didn't happen. I forgot about all that. To third or fourth year, I received this email saying that I want a green card. I was like, oh, let me read this email, how they want to scam me and all that stuff. That's how it started. So
which makes sense.
That's how I came here. And until that point, I was all in leather. I was born into a family-owned tannery in Turkey, and I was running behind my father in business since I was 8-9 years old.
Can I ask you something about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So where in Turkey are you from?
𝐶anakkale is my hometown, which is the ancient Troy region in the northwest coast. It's just right across Greece, and it's like 4 or 5 hours drive from Istanbul. That's where I grew up. That's where we had our tannery.
So you grew up in one area, and then the family had to drive back and forth to get to the tannery, or you guys moved from
we were all in 𝐶anakkale in the tannery town. We were living there, but most of our business was in Istanbul. So basically we were going and coming back from Istanbul once a week. It was like we had
the whole family go?
Places. Mostly my dad, but pretty much every other week we were going as well, just for the weekend and things like that. So it was a lot of traveling.
How many siblings do you have?
I have a brother. He's still in Turkey, and currently my brand 𝐃𝐞𝐬𝐢, he's doing the manufacturing, crafting in the same building that used to be our tannery. Now we turned it into a workshop.
Well, you knew the owner, right, of the buildings?
Yes.
So difficult.
Yes.
Wow. So was it understood that you would go into the family business per se, or did you want to, or was it like, hey, this is Volkan, like, welcome to the business?
I was dying to. My dad really enjoyed having me around, but I was the one dying to get in. They had to convince me to go to college. I was ready to drop out at high school and, just go full into leather tanning. Right. But they forced me, like, you have to go to college and get a degree. And that's how I got a degree eventually in business.
It's a good thing they did.
Yes, absolutely. Then it led me to get my MBA here and all that. Without a college degree, I wouldn't be able to do anything.
Do that.
Yeah.
So did you immediately work with your dad, like through college, after college? Was it like, okay, here, Baba, I'm here. Like, you can get rid of me.
Basically, it was during high school. I was very involved. I was technically running the tannery because my dad was always traveling. I was the one taking care of the production in tannery, even though I was in high school. After school, during breaks, I was just on my phone doing the work.
Oh my gosh. Was that weird for the workers? Because I'm sure they had worked for your dad for the whole time. Because turnover at factories is really low over there, right? It's the same family has worked there year after year. And here's the kid, the son of the owner, who's telling me what to do.
Well, it didn't feel weird to me. At the beginning, it was a little uncomfortable, sometimes having tough conversations with 50-year-old masters in the tannery because nobody else is there. I got used to it, and I don't think they took it weirdly because I was always there. They were used to me. They kind of saw me like the kid.
Grow up.
He was always around, yeah.
Oh my God. So what did they make in the tannery? Was it specific to one thing or the other? Was it what was it?
Mainly, we were doing lamb sheepskins for garment production. That was our main line, either in a nappa format without the hair, like the ones you see behind me. And
Right.
Or then we started making the double face, we call it, which we keep the hair on the sheepskin as well, that you can make the jackets that has the fur as well. So we were mainly doing that. But as some side projects requested, we were doing goat skins and some cow hides for different productions as well, including rabbits and different things I've experimented in tannery.
You know, considering where you are now and coming from another country, I'm sure wastage was something that did not exist, right? Like any fall off or anything, like there was always a way to find something to do with it, right?
Exactly. The essence of leather business is that basically the raw hide is a wastage. If you don't touch it within the hour after the animal is slaughtered, it's just a trash. And it's a trash that could be infectious. You know, it needs to be handled carefully. It starts putrefying right away. We take it with salted and then the tanning process starts so it can get a second life as leather. So once you are in this industry, you always look at things like nothing should go to waste.
Right.
And in fact, that's what happens in leather. Even the wastage from the tanning process goes back to sub-industries, turning into different things, you know.
Right.
Sometimes you might see what goes in there. It could be disgusting, imagining that's going to turn into a makeup product or things like that, or maybe even food ingredient. But nothing is wasted in the industry. And that was a good way to learn making stuff, I think.
It's so fascinating because I think the background you have, right? There's so many people nowadays who aspirationally want to become designers, want to become creators. And one of the things I always say, amongst other people, is get experience working for someone else so you understand the process, like, you know, the back end. Because my first job was in media and someone said you'd never open up a clothing store if you didn't know how to shop. And that stayed with me, right? Because you have to know how to buy. You have to know the process from inception. I mean, from this case, from the farm. So having this experience, it's like it puts you 100 steps ahead already without even probably being aware of that.
Exactly. I wasn't aware of that. I was only in the tanning side up until 2016, 2017. I know how to take a raw hide and make it into leather, and we were selling it to shoemakers, garment makers, or handbag makers, but I haven't done anything further than that. So it's extremely valuable, though, like getting experience from the designers, working with them, understanding creation process, because it's an entirely different world. Again, I'm trying to learn every day now for the past 6-7 years, but knowing the leather in depth as I had the privilege to learn.
Intimately.
Yes. And the network you accumulate in the past 20-25 years, all leather makers, tanneries around the world, like where you can find what, who does best what, is immensely helpful when you try to design something. You know, I know where I'm going to get that exact specific material that I need here.
Can I ask you, though, just from an expert perspective, and I spoke about this in my book, but I had to actually go to an expert because this wasn't knowledge that I had. In your personal opinion, which hides and skins and animals are best for which silhouettes? Can you just share those nuggets of gold with us? And I think, and it's so many designers make leather-based backpacks. And to me, in my opinion, always think that's always a waste because they always sell the least, right? Unless it's a name brand. Because at the end of the day, the function of a backpack is to overstuff and to carry. They're less fashion forward, again, unless it's a label. Do you have an opinion on that? And also which skins for what bodies?
So it is a very deep subject.
We could talk about this all day. This is so my jam. You don't even know, like forget your whole history. So in terms of which leathers and skins do you think, and I know it's a loaded and long answered question, but just for the neophytes listening, what would you say?
So I think if I have to generalize.
Yeah. Purely generalizing.
Make something that is soft. It doesn't have to hold a lot of form or structure. And we're talking about bags here. Lambskin is absolutely perfect. You know, it has a soft, nice touch. It's a good material that definitely distinct in feeling and look.
Yeah, it's lighter.
Yeah, lighter. It's delicate. It's harder to keep. Probably it's not going to last as long as a cowhide, but that would be nice if you're working with a soft silhouette. If you're going to work with something that needs to hold its shape, which most of the fashion bags has to, in the fancy space, then 𝐾𝐞 and 𝐾𝐽 works a little better because it's a more strict fiber structure. We can tin it in a way that will hold itself. Almost never we completely rely on the fashion space to have the leather keep the form. We use the support materials inside, but of course using 𝐾𝐽 and 𝐾𝐽 goes a long way. 𝐾𝐽 is absolutely preferred over 𝐾𝐽 because a younger skin has a finer grain structure. As long as the finish is not overly covering it, you can enjoy it more, has a better touch, a lot softer, almost like you touched your skin when you're 15 years old, it feels different. When you're 4 years old, it feels different. So 𝐾𝐽 and 𝐾𝐽 is kind of that touch and look feel.
I always explain to people that you're buying skins and it's going to change and evolve over time, just like yours, like whether it's the oils, whether it's the exposure, whether it's the light. And always to remember that you are buying, and people cringe, but it is a skin, the end.
Absolutely. It is a skin. It's just turned into a way that's not gonna petrify forever almost, but it is a skin at the end of the day. And especially I always try to preach the minimally finished leathers. That's where we can enjoy the natural characteristics of leather. As long as the finish is not covering what's underneath, we will get to enjoy that natural creation of that skin. So definitely 𝐾𝐽 is more for the form than structured silhouettes. And we talked about backpacks. If we're gonna do a backpack, I think my go-to is again 𝐾𝐽 because of durability. Even if you stuff it, stretch it, it could be like semi-soft, maybe tumbled leathers with some pebbled grains. But I would like to see some waterproofing done in the tannery side because it's going to be out there. Adventurous types may carry this. That would be my go-to material in leather backpack area.
Perfect. Oh, such good nuggets. People are going to need to listen to this 100 times. So you're in Turkey. And again, I apologize for doing a deep dive on you. So you went from Turkey and then you went to Armenia, which so cool. You were in Yerevan, right?
So I was in Yerevan for about 6 months, right before I moved to the States. Prior to that, I was in Turkmenistan running a tannery for about a year. And that's where I got my green card lottery notification.
Wild.
And how I ended up there was in 2007, my dad decided to move our tannery to Turkmenistan.
So you went
Turkey.
with it?
Yes, I went with it. At the time, I was in China actually doing some leather buying, sourcing, consulting for some companies in Turkey.
How did your dad feel about that? Or he was like, go for it?
Well, he always let me do whatever I wanted and he loved that experience. He was learning with me too there. But my plan was to stay in China for a longer time. But as soon as I heard he's moving the tannery, he was going to need me to run it there. And then I just came back and joined Turkmenistan. That was about a year of torture and disaster. We left everything. It was insane corruption. And green card lottery was my ticket out of that hell. And then I went to Yerevan to wait for my green card visa, ran another tannery there for about 6 months, and then I came here.
It's funny. I worked in Russia for a couple years, and there's so much opportunity coupled with as soon as you get successful in countries like that, the government always gets involved. And because they always know when somebody starts becoming successful, and then they come in and either inform you they're getting half, demand that they're getting half, or that they're getting the larger portion of it, and that you have no stake or claim to it as a result of not being a native to the country. So
absolutely.
It's tricky, and the funny thing is that you as a manufacturer were only trying to do good by the country to get more exports for them.
Exactly. That was my experience in Turkmenistan. So it's kind of tricky. We went there because we were thinking the leather is there. There's not enough tanneries in the country.
Like an untapped market.
Exactly. We can process the leather. We can export it out of this country, definitely bringing revenue here. But of course, we're not going to do it for free. Our goal is to make money too, because it's a cheaper country. We have our interest as well. But the point we miss is that the things we don't see in the first glance, that corruption and, illegal things getting involved as soon as you start your operation there. And that's what happened. Every day, different part of government was showing up for another bribe. And for about a year, we tried to work, but they didn't let us. And we just left everything and get out of it.
Everything. It's like you built this whole thing and you're like hopping on a plane one day back to Turkey, like, okay, well, that was interesting. And that was it.
That's it. That's what happened.
So then you went to Armenia. Armenia. Were you like, hey, Baba, I'm going to Armenia, like, see you in a bit. I'm going to wait some time out until I go to the US?
No, this was actually basically end of the year in Turkmenistan. We realized this is not happening. And we met an Armenian person, a tradesperson in Turkmenistan. He was doing a lot of deals with government and, in the region. And he happened to know a businessman in Armenia who owned a tannery, but couldn't run it for so long. He was looking for a partnership to run it together. That's how we ended up transitioning to Armenia in that context.
Did your dad go with you?
Yeah, we were together. Like even my whole family, like even my mom was there for a while with us. Yeah, my brother.
That's it. Like you guys were leather nomads.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I ask you, just as a functional question, having, as an American, we are not historically known for having linguistic strength. I happened to be lucky enough to study a bunch of languages growing up. What did you speak in all these countries?
Well, I don't speak Russian. I kind of got used to a little bit in my Turkmenistan and Armenia experience, just a few words in Russian. But none of us, my dad, my brother, spoke Russian at the moment. My brother was the most advanced, all of us. He studied in Uzbekistan for about a year, and he was able to communicate at the basic level when we were there. Right now, he's fully fluent. His wife is Russian, so he's completely running his life in Russian now. But at the time, we didn't speak Russian. In Turkmenistan, it wasn't too difficult. Their language, Turkmen language, is very close to Turkish. 70-80%. Same base, they understand us, so it wasn't difficult. That's how we got by. And Armenia, we just had some translators going around with us.
So no English?
No, yeah, the English is not that common there. Yep. It doesn't help much.
Wow. That's so fascinating because as an American, one would assume Turkmenistan, that there would be some sort of connection. I mean, obviously, historically there is, but you never know, right?
Yes.
So like, what is it? Norwegian, I think, is the only language that has no historical connection to anything. It's one of those Scandinavian countries.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. But Turkish has that connections. Actually, I heard this. You could start traveling east from Turkey and you can reach to China while just speaking Turkish, because all the countries you're going to pass, if you're on the right path, will speak a form of Turkish.
That's wild. So look at you. So you're covered if you keep going east, right?
Yeah. But I learned my lesson. I think I'm not going to continue that. So.
Oh my God. So, all right, you're in Armenia, green card comes through, then you just end up in Chicago. Yeah?
Yeah, I was in New Jersey briefly first, like 6 months.
That makes sense. One should always start in New Jersey. Like,
I've been there for a couple summers for summer program in my college before. We call it work and travel. And from that time, I knew an Italian family, like crazy smart businessman, one of the smartest businessmen I've ever seen. I learned a lot from him. So I came to New Jersey, start working with him, working for him. He was doing textile business. It was quite boring for 6 months for me in the summer town of Jersey. And I was looking for a little bit more friends and stuff like that. And I realized
in a suburb of New Jersey, here you've traveled the world through all this chaos, and now you're like in the suburb with the backyard.
Yeah, why?
Having to drive for a coffee because they didn't have good coffee there either, I'm sure. So, well, they were Italian, so they should have, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, everything was fine. The social life was a little lacking, and that's why I ended up in Chicago, which I loved, and I was there for 9 years.
Why not New York City if you're so close?
I was going back and forth almost every day. My Jersey work was intense. I was waking up 4 a.m. every day and coming back home about midnight. So like 4 hours sleep, 6 months. I was driving a huge truck delivering textiles to New York, Philadelphia, and back to New Jersey every day. So that was insane.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy New York with that kind of schedule, so I didn't want to be there.
That's it. Oh my God. Yeah. So it must have been Central Jersey if that was the case, if you had that commute.
South Jersey. So fun.
Oh, God, that breaks my heart. I know that drive. It's not a fun one.
Oh, no.
No, you go past the Meadowlands and you're like, oh, I still have so much longer to go.
Yeah, exactly. The New Jersey Garden State Parkway ends where I get home. That kind of thing. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's a hard pass. I would have gone to Chicago, too, because that's like city light. So you got your MBA in Chicago. Did you go there and then apply? Or you were like...
No, I was a cab driver for 3.5 years in Chicago, like full-time cab driver. From my friend's suggestions, I started that. And trying to establish a new life here. I don't know what I'm going to do. Leather is not a huge thing in US, especially tanneries. So kept driving, paid the bills. 3.5 years, I met a lot of consultants with the cab business. And first time I'm hearing about consulting, I'm asking now, what do you guys do? They say, we basically solve business problems. Like, that sounds interesting. How can I become a consultant? Probably easiest way is to get an MBA. That's how I started to Thinker and switched to MBA after the cab driver thing.
Wow. So were you still driving a cab and getting your MBA?
No, I did a full-time MBA in the University of Illinois Champaign, Champaign. So I moved to Champaign full-time, 2 years MBA program. And then I got a consulting job, came back to Chicago.
Where you tell people what to do?
Yes, exactly. But that was my first corporate job.
Did it kill you?
America. It did. It only lasted a year. I'm like, no, I'm not made for this.
Yeah.
I was actually tired of not having anything to do. I'm trying to look like I'm working, I'm doing something. I was just
smoke and mirrors.
I was started to question, like, why are they paying me so much money? I'm not creating value. I just felt super uncomfortable, and I ended up quitting without knowing what I'm going to do next. So
wow. So in 2016, you started 𝐃𝐿𝐬𝐬. So how did that happen? Like, were you still day jobbing at that point?
No, so I quit the consulting. I went back to Uber driving because, I'm familiar with the cab concept in Chicago. I'm making a living for the first month or two. And I'm thinking, how can I go back to leather? Because I missed it at this point. It's been about almost 8 years now. I'm far from leather. And I realized this Etsy thing, people are, doing wallets and selling it. I'm like, oh, this sounds like a profitable thing, but I don't know how to design a wallet. I don't know how to make a wallet. So I got into YouTube, the Uber driving, waiting at the airports, YouTubing how to design wallet, learning how to use the Illustrator and how to do saddle stitching at home. So that's
I'm gonna
trial.
Listen, I'm buying the rights to your life because this is gonna make a movie, and I'm here for it. I called it first. That is amazing. If you ever wanted to start a handbag line and didn't know where to start, this is for you.
Living proof that independent designers can make it big.
Emily Blumenthal is one prime example.
If you had dreams of becoming a handbag designer and didn't know where to start, this is for you. If you have a handbag brand and are in need of strategy and direction, this is for you. I'm Emily Blumenthal, handbag fairy godmother and handbag designer expert, and this is Handbag Designer 101, the masterclass. Over the next 10 classes, I will break down everything you need to know how to make, market, and manufacture a handbag. Broken down for you that you'll not only skip steps in that handbag building process, but also save money in that learning curve. For the past 20 years, I've been teaching at the top fashion universities in New York City, created the Handbag Awards, and also the Handbag Designer 101 podcast. I'm going to show you like I have countless brands from sketch to sample to shelf, whether you're just starting out and don't know where to begin, or even if you have a handbag line and just need some strategic direction, the Handbag Designer 101 Masterclass is just for you. So let's get started, and you will be the creator of the next It Bag. Join me, Emily Blumenthal, with the Handbag Designer 101 Masterclass. And I gotta say, coming from where you came from as a true immigrant, right? There's no shame in doing anything that helps you make money. It is what everything's a means to an end. Like, there's nothing, like you needed money. You had this amazing MBA. You've traveled the globe. Then now what? But the fact that you were like, I can still do both and have something basically pay me while I figure it out is pretty incredible.
Right. And, being an immigrant, probably it's easier for us to realize this. America is a great place to have all these opportunities for you as long as you want to make it happen.
Yeah.
There is limitless things you can work on, learn, and turn it into a profession and make a great living out of. So I was fortunate enough to be here to do all this stuff. You can't do this in Turkey. You can't do this in nowhere else, basically.
No.
I can say.
No, I totally agree with you. I worked in Moscow and then I worked in London, and even working in London to see the differences, like, one who doesn't know any better, but coming from a country that is a uniform government and how it's run historically, like no one's changing anything there. They really aren't. But America was founded on privatization.
Yeah.
So with that, it kind of messes with the system, right? Because we really have a system that isn't a system. But with that kind of space, it allows you to do whatever you want. It's there for the taking.
Exactly. So that's not only me, that's the environment making it possible. So that's definitely a great advantage.
So here you are, you figured out how to make wallets. Was that kind of like, it must have been hilarious to you. Like, hey, I know how to make the leather, but I don't know how to make any product with it.
It's frustrating. So you understand whether I'm like, these wallets look simple. We're talking Etsy wallets, right? Like it's layers of leather put together and it's simple. But if you don't know, you don't know. I have to go in and then learning how to draw things with Illustrator, then print it out, cut it.
Did you have to teach yourself Illustrator?
Yes. Like everything is basically from YouTube. I'm watching people who are sharing their knowledge, which I appreciate. And soon I tried a few different designs. I'm like, oh, they don't look that good. You know, they don't look as good as the ones on Etsy, but I improved. I made like 10, 15, 20 different. And I'm still thinking nobody would buy this, but hey, I'm going to put it on. You know, I don't care. I put it on Etsy and I got an order. And then I got another one the next day. I got 2 the other day. I got 3 the next day. I'm like, hold on, this is interesting. Now we're talking with my brother. He's not doing anything either in Turkey. Now our factory building is abandoned, you know, completely in trash condition since we moved. I said, why don't you guys make this? And I focus on design and selling and marketing. And that's how we started. So
can I ask you though, were you able to figure out correct pricing? Because the shipping alone, you know, it's tricky, right? Like, you know how to cost out the materials, but to cost out the labor, the time value that it takes to put into the product and then have it ship it over. Was that something that you had to learn? Like, did you have any hiccups on that? Because I'm sure in itself, it's like, wait, I undercharged. Wait, I overcharged. Wait, the shipping. I didn't even think about the shipping cost.
So initially it was, everything is new. Like I have no idea how to send a product from Turkey to you or how much it's going to cost, the customs, tax, the procedures. I have no clue. But
or things getting lost if you think like, let me save some money and ship it with a national mail service and it never shows up.
Exactly. It never showed up. We lost hope. And then 2 months later, it showed up. Like, oh, okay, here it is. But regardless, we started using DHL, the most reliable so far in my experience. Right. And I was like, oh, it's not that difficult. And because I did my pricing when I was making my wallets in my apartment in Chicago with saddle stitching, you know, my pricing was not cheap because it took so much time for me to make anything, you know, hand cutting and sewing.
Right.
Now, once we turn into producing in Turkey, my pricing, I was able to actually take it down a notch because I'm still profitable covering all the making and shipping of it using the best leather I could get my hands on. And the pricing worked out basically. Probably fully handmade beginning gave me a good pricing structure understanding. And then I was able to take my prices a little bit down because I found, more affordable ways to make the same product, better product actually.
So did you put it on your brother at some point to say, okay, find someone who could make this stuff for us because I can't keep making it?
Well, yeah, that's why we got a sewing machine that we don't even know how to use a sewing machine. You know, we couldn't control it. It goes so fast. I was turning it with my hand in Turkey first trip, and then he's holding the thing. And we ended up hiring a person who knows how to use a sewing machine.
Right.
And my dad, him, and the sewing guy, they started making these and shipping it to me. Me and my wife is doing the personalization, packaging, shipping from our Chicago apartment at the beginning. That's how we got.
Did she have a say in this? Or you were like, hey, by the way, I need you to get involved?
No, she supported me from every beginning of every adventure. We're very close. I'm very fortunate to be with my wife 24 hours. We're still like that. She works from home. She's a consultant, but
as a consultant.
Yes. And she's coming to my workshop every morning with me, helps with anything she can when she has free time. And we come back home, we play with our kids. We're 24 hours literally together every day and we love it. Like we couldn't change it. Like that's how.
Thank God, huh?
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't work for a lot of couples, I know. So.
Oh my God. No, that's a tricky dance in itself. So how did you end up in Texas and how did you end up with 𝐃𝐬𝐬? Like, when did you say, okay, we're going to call it 𝐃𝐬𝐬? And by the way, we're moving to Texas.
So that's interesting. The original brand was going to be Leatherstein, and I had a little hiccup when I was opening my Etsy store. I couldn't get that name, and I had to think of something else. 𝐃𝐬𝐬 is my hometown in Turkey. Its ancient Greek name was 𝐃𝐬𝐬. Right now it's called Biga. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take that. And I found the domain was available for a premium purchase. I bought it because it was short, sweet, and it had a meaning for me. That's how it started. And within the first year or two, we had to get a small workshop in Chicago. You know, the orders were coming in. We had an employee and all that stuff. And in Turkey, we had a team of maybe 10 artisans working with us.
Wow.
Yeah, it grew pretty quickly. And I think it was 2019. I was absolutely down with the cold weather in Chicago. For the past 12 months, we were just looking for where can we move? A warmer climate, you know, somewhere that makes sense because I can move my business. It's flexible.
Right.
We checked a bunch of places: California, Florida, Washington, Houston, Seattle, all that stuff. And we came to Dallas and we were like, okay, that's it. And we were almost about to have our first kid. And I wanted to have it in a bigger space, you know, not in an apartment in Chicago. So we made a quick decision to move to Dallas in 2009 summer. Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. So you named the brand 𝐃𝐬𝐬. You're making money. You're employing people in Turkey. You're employing people domestically. You and your wife are home, baby, making wallets, small leather goods, or slugs, as some of them call. Had you moved to regular bags at that point or just,
No, not the handbags in the fashion sense. We were doing more like this is more of an Etsy, Amazon business at this stage still.
Right.
We have our own website, but most of the designs are basic. There's no inner supports and things like that. The bag you can find on Etsy. And the COVID happened and all that stuff. You know, we had to run everything in our garage here for a while.
But that's not anything you weren't already familiar with. It was a hiccup and you've been there, done that.
Oh, right away, we figured it out. Like that was actually, you know, worked out just fine. We actually seeing an increase in the orders. Probably people were shopping more because they were home and all that stuff.
Right.
It was really busy with 3-month-old baby in hand, but well, we handled it.
That's good. You need more than just a baby to do, let me tell you.
Yeah.
So this takes us to your TikTok awakening, I guess we could call it. What was that moment?
So this was actually a personal realization happened in 2020. We took a trip to Maui, Hawaii with my son and, you know, my wife. I don't know what happened there, but on the way back, I had to write this down. It came to me so clearly in my mind in the airplane. I had to open my notes app and I have to write it down. I'm like,
do you know something that when you're flying, your mind is much more stimulated? They say for anybody who's working or has a creative mind, never sleep on a plane because your best ideas will always come when you're flying. FYI.
Really? At first time I heard this, but that's the experience. I experienced it. I put it down on a paper. I realized I'm here to help people understand leather because putting all the dots together in my life, whoever know my involvement with leather, they've been asking me, hey, I got this leather jacket. I got this shoe, belt, bag, whatever you name it. Can you look? Is it good? Did I pay too much? You know, is it real? Is it fake?
Right.
At that moment, I'm like, people love leather. Everybody wants to use it, but they don't really know enough to be comfortable with making their own decisions. Sometimes they feel like they're cheated. So I'm here to help them understand this material a little bit better, and I can use social media. So that was kind of the clarity of purpose came to me. Up until that point, I was dabbling in everything. You know, I was buying a CNC machine, trying to learn different things. Like I'm a handy person. I love doing woodwork. Like I have tools and things, trying to explore so many things. But after that clarity, I'm not looking at anything else. It's only leather for me. That was like, I realized why I was here. And that's how that video thing started. I've been experimenting with different ways to convey leather information to people in different videos since then. But the first viral video happened last August, when I was talking about Chanel and their wallet, and, you know, it exploded and people start asking, can you review this? Can you do that? And I've been just following it.
That's crazy. Now, I am, as I affectionately have referred to myself, as Garmento offspring. So my father was a converter in the garment center, garment district. So he would buy gray goods, the big drums, the big rolls, as I'm sure you're familiar, and then send them to factories and mills to get dyed. And then he would then resell them. He was the middleman. Now, as everybody the middleman at this point, other than in Europe, there really are no more converters because people go straight to factories. That step has been wiped out. Thank God that's the case, because he used to travel only in the US where there was domestic production. Like I remember someone had paid him in cowboy boots once, a factory. So understanding, we were never allowed to have labels growing up because we were always taught the cost of goods. Like, oh, the markup on this is insane. No, you don't need the real Guess jeans. No, you don't need the real this. Like we would get the closeouts, the seconds, even in some cases, the knockoffs, like, one leg was longer than the other or whatever. Like, my mom's like, I can fix that. So this whole essence of understanding and always looking at product made by independents has really impacted me by looking at name brands, because I have friends who, much like who didn't grow up the way theoretically we did, and don't look at these high-end products and saying, like, the markup on this is insane. I know how much this is a yard. Like, I'm not spending a 2,000 markup just because they smack a logo on it. And that's what drew me to you, because I'm like, he gets it. He gets it. But, that's obviously not going to change. We are a consumer public. That's who we are as a people, as a culture, especially, anybody, once you have an element of means, the whole point of it is letting other people know.
Exactly.
So the fact that you're decrypting it is like, you're the beacon. So
I think that's why it clicked with people, because so many of us kind of knows that's not worth it from a material standpoint, right?
Yep.
Like they know how much it can cost.
Right.
Probably not exactly, but they have a clue it's not going to be $3,000 for that much leather. But some people are still questioning, because leather is a tricky material. It has been associated with luxury thousands of years. All the kings and warriors wore it because it was rare, expensive. Nowadays, it's not the case. It's really not that expensive. But big brands really still play on that historical luxury essence of leather to create that mystical, quality. So this is $3,000. Probably it's awesome leather, incredible. That's what I wanted to tell people. It's not really about leather. I have huge respect for these brands. What they created are amazing. It's super difficult. Yeah. But they are not in the leather business. They are in the prestige business.
They're in the branding business.
Exactly. They engineer a luxury onto a leather bag because it's a great medium to carry the luxury on it.
Correct.
And it is super hard to engineer that luxury, by the way. I'm not,
100%
overlooking that.
100%.
I can't do that. Probably nobody else can do that. There's only 10, 20 brands who have done it successfully, and that's it. That's the price you have to pay if you want to buy that. And there is a huge demand for it too. People who buy that stuff there, they know they're buying status. They know they're not buying just a bag.
Right.
Some of them may be trying to justify a little too much. It's super high quality, it's great design, but it's all biased because you're paying so much money. You're trying to convince yourself it's great. Now, I'm not saying they're bad. Most of them are really well made and, good, but they're not exceptional.
Well, it's kind of like buying a regular house in a good neighborhood. That's essentially what you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it.
So were there any surprises from everything that you've done from this deconstructing that you were like, I didn't even know this about these certain brands? Or were there any things that you were like, oh my God, who knew?
Absolutely. No, I'm making a video actually. I'm working on it this week. It's like, after spending this much money, what did I learn from all these dissections? So I'm going to make a YouTube video. And a few of these things, like it changed my perspective. If you look at my first videos, if you talked to me last year, I will be a little bit more judging against these brands. I'll be like, it's absolutely not worth it, because
right.
I have my own perspective.
Right.
And I'm a little too strong, maybe borderline judging people who are buying this stuff.
That's fair.
But now, after looking at all these brands, I see the value. I confirmed it for myself. It's not about the material quality or craftsmanship, it cannot be. But I started to see who buys this and why they buy it and how difficult it is to create something like that. My respect to their customers, my respect to the brands grew immensely. I definitely understand both sides, even though I'm still keeping my own perspective on things. I'm not a buyer of those brands, but I definitely understand it a lot more. And another learning is most of the luxury brands are really just nothing that special, with the exception of a few. Hermes, I have huge respect for their leather selections and, a little bit extra craftsmanship practices, the saddle stitching and all that stuff.
But they were, if you go back to Hermes's history of being the first, I think they were the ones who came up with the first true travel bag that, God, I'm going to get my history mixed up. So if anybody hears this, I apologize. But the founder of Hermes, I believe he went to the Ford factory in Detroit and learned that the possibility of from seeing the cars and the seats, then gave him the idea that he could use those bags, use the leathers in a different way, that it could be used in a more travel sturdy way. And his wife was the one that requested it.
Really? I didn't know. This is a great piece of...
I have this giant Aussie. I have this giant, and then there was some sort of conflict. I have to go back and look at which silhouette this is, and this is going to kill me because there's a name. But then there's two different brands that fought over who was the creator of this. And I'll let you know, but I have this giant dossier of the history of the handbag that I always like to defer to for moments like this, that there's a reason why certain brands are better at it, because historically they've been doing it and have had a means to perfect it. And those people within their factory or their ateliers have been doing it for hundreds of years, because then their child comes through as just like you.
Right. Definitely there is this generational knowledge transfer. It's incredibly important in leathercraft. So definitely Hermes deserves a huge respect from material craftsmanship standpoint out of all those luxury brands. Bottega with their unique designs and, difficult silhouettes, I have huge respect. Their leather selections were usually good. But one caveat there is you can't trust one of these brands at all times for everything they say. Because one of the wallets I got from Bottega, I was using it without doubting. They said it's calf skin. I was enjoying it up until I cut it up and removed the finish. I realized it was a split covered with a PU top, which most people call genuine leather these days. It's a stretch of imagination to call it a calf skin. I was shocked. More normally they are using exceptional leathers. Why did you do this here? It's not worth it. This is a $600 wallet.
Yeah.
Just use the calf skin. So those are the interesting learnings I had with this adventure, and I enjoyed every minute.
That's so funny. Can I ask you something? Just selfishly, I want to know, what kind of bag does your wife carry?
Oh, well, my poor wife now carries whatever design I made, and it's going really fast these days. User
marketing.
Feedback. Yeah, prototype. No, actually prototype feedback.
She's taking it for a test drive. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, exactly. Test drive. She's a test drive. And because so much of it coming out fast these days, she only has a week to carry one. And I'm like, oh, here's another one. And some of the bags I buy for dissection, she carries those too, and to give me a little bit feedback for the user standpoint. So it changes a lot. But the bags she really loves that I got for her was Bottega bags so far.
And there we go. Well, I won't call you Vulcan. So
yeah. No, it's fine. Vulcan, Tanner, it's the same.
So Tanner Leatherstein, thank you so very much. I hope you enjoyed this conversation.
Oh, I enjoyed it immensely. Thank you so much. It's fun to remember the memories sometimes.
Listen, the roots, I'm not kidding. I'm going to when there's a movie made about you, I'm going to be behind it one way or another, because I love a good handbag adventure. And this is definitely one of them. So how can people follow you, learn more, and get all this good stuff?
Absolutely. We keep doing short videos on TikTok and Instagram, and handle is at Tanner.Leatherstein on both platforms. And on YouTube, same handle at Tanner.Leatherstein. We do shorts and longer videos with a little bit more entertainment and information. That's where I do the informative content. And my own brand, 𝐃𝐞𝐬𝐢𝐠𝐧, is at 𝐃𝐞𝐬𝐼.com. Everything we create is going to be available there. They can sign up for the newsletter for every week, new designs coming up these days.
𝐃𝐸GAI, just in case. And you should call it the newsletter, not the newsletter, just so you know.
Yes, newsletter. Yeah, I was actually checking the domain name if it was available. It would be a cool trademark, newsletter.
It would. Well, listen, I think the people at the USPTO.gov are sick of me, and they have my voice with a line through it because I call them so much to ask questions. I'm like, hey, so what do you think about this? And they're like, we are not here to field your conversational requests about what you think you should do with the business or a brand. I'm like, Yeah, but we're already on the phone. Like, let's talk a little bit. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much. This has been an absolute pleasure. Looking forward to see what you do next, and we will absolutely be keeping in touch.
Yes, we will be in touch. It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to rate and review and follow us on every single platform at Handbag Designer. Thanks so much. See you next time.